getting this opportunity to, go out there and, you know, pursue all the things that I want to is just really great. And especially with the early graduation, like I never really thought that it would be a possibility to like be able to do this, but with Anjali's program, it gave me so much reassurance and gave me so much guidance along the way, knowing that like there are going to be options for me and that I am going to be fine. So I think that was the best part of the whole process is just having reassurance and knowing that everything was going to be okay. Because especially as a college student, it can get very hectic and it can be a very anxious time of the year. So having someone, and not even just Anjali, but all the people that she provides is just something that is so special and so great. And I think that any student who is applying to college would appreciate the same type of support in their life, even during school. So. Well, I'm gonna start off. I think my mom knows a little bit too about Becky. Oh, I love Becky. So she is my essay coach, and she was there probably start off the bat in October all the way up until I submitted my last essay. And she is just amazing. She is so passionate about writing, and you can tell that she's so in her work, and she's so passionate about what she does that it inspires me to also create the most I can throughout my writing. And my mom even knows the stuff that she was able to bring out of me, especially because writing can be such a vulnerable place. And I think having someone that you feel safe with and having someone you can feel you can express your ideas with a safe space is really important because sometimes a lot of people can be writing about things in their college essays that they feel like they can't even talk to their parents about. So having Becky was like that for me, and I could just say anything or throw any crazy idea out there, and she would just listen. And I think anything that I've ever wrote, like she's definitely read every single word and has definitely gave me her feedback on all of it. And I think even throughout the process, there was no pressure, there was no judgment for not being able to write a certain way. And I think because we all have different levels of love when it comes to writing. Some people are more STEM based and more, math and science. And I was always like more of a writer. So I think having a fellow writer who also loved to do that was just such a collaboration. It didn't even feel like doing work. It just felt like I was zooming with someone every week and just talking about writing. And she helped me really narrate my life in a beautiful way. And I don't think I would have been able to kind of get out what I was trying to say. Like sometimes you know what you're trying to say, but you don't know exactly how you're supposed to say it. And she just was able to help me articulate that really perfectly. So yeah, but my mom also knows a little bit. She was sometimes in on the sessions that I would do with Becky. So go ahead.
And yeah. Especially at the beginning, we started this process through COVID, quarantine time, and we never met any one of you in person. Therefore, it takes time to get the rhythm going, gelling with each other going. But I quickly noticed that Anjali was this tough love coach, and Becky was this person where Neha, like you mentioned, she never had to like be like concerned about if I tell this, what is she going to think about me? She felt so free with her that she can tell her anything she wants, and she won't feel judged, right? And the LinkedIn coach,
Yeah, Alan,
he
he's
has
awesome.
taught like the what does the resume looks like now, right? The things 10 years ago is not anymore, and he has taught Neha really good base that I even noticed not a lot of people. When I go look at Neha's LinkedIn profile as a 16-year-old, it looks so professional and it looks like somebody who is ready to start working.
And it's
Right?
all thanks
If
to
not
him.
for him, I don't think even I couldn't have done it. Right. And so all three of you served a different purpose. And I think no one was better than the other. I think we needed all three types of people to make this work. Like, there's this one person that needs to, push you a little beyond your limit of what, because you can see like it's not easy to work with the teenagers. You know that, right? Especially high school. They know everything and, this is what I'm used to. And so she came with the expectation that, oh, I have somebody that's going to help me apply, help me with essay. But what she didn't know that she had to do all the work and she had to do all the researches. And like you mentioned, those things is what is needed to be a college student, actually. Like I was telling Neha, if you can do this, you got the college stress. I mean, it's not going to be as stressful as what you've gone. So because she had to finish high school work, classes, exams, she had to take ACC classes, she had to apply, on the side, plus take dance conventions in the weekend, traveling like 2 weekends in a row. She would travel. So and I was kind of more worried about her, mental wellness at that point, and I was always watching her to break down or say, okay, this is it, but she was I think she was more motivated as the time went by. She was telling me like, oh, I'm excited to apply for college, and it's like my 10th one. And she was looking
y'all.
forward to it, and she knows how to summarize herself such a crisp way because that he has taught her this is how you do it. If you want to give somebody and you have this many lines and this many 1 minute to
That's one thing.
summarize about you, what are the things you need to focus? And that's not just for college, but that is what you need in a professional setting in the future. And Neha now knows how to do that, right? Because she has done it so many times. So
it was that too.
I think all three of you were like, I don't know, if one was missing, I don't think it would have turned out right. So I'm so glad.
I was about to say that was one thing too for any of my fellow like writers who just write a bunch. Like I tend to say a lot, and I think Becky was great at condensing it. And in terms of all three of you like together, I didn't even have that many meetings with Alan. I think I had just one, and he was just so great. Like he even communicated with me through emails even after, like reviewed my profile after the time being, so I would be able to make little tweaks to it. And I think it also got me more interested in more of the professional world, because as a college student, you don't really know where your connections lie living in like a very technology based world right now. So having LinkedIn, I was able to find professors. I was able to find, like, if I had to talk about a professor in my essay, all I had to do was go search up their LinkedIn, but I wouldn't have known that before if it wasn't for Anjali introducing the value of that. And I think people who maybe just traditionally just apply to college with just the essay, some of these little things go a long way. They go a long way more than you would ever think. So at first I was like, LinkedIn, like what's that? Like why is that important? But you know what? After that, like now I just give my LinkedIn to all of my teachers because it's a really great way to just tell people who you are, and give a resume that may not be just on paper but also visually. As an artist myself, it's a great way to showcase that. So I think, just like my mom was saying, all three of you together brought something different to the table, and it was all really important to keep me motivated but also inspired, and also just working hard at the same time. So yeah.
Didn't get to interact much with Becky or Alan, but I heard great things about them from Neha and how supportive they were. And as far as Anjali goes, like, I really appreciate the fact that, she helped her, with her goals kind of shifting, she helped her navigate through that. And, it was challenging to, like aim at a moving target, so to speak. So, but I think Anjali helped us navigate through that and kind of get to where we want to be, and we're happy where we are. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think my expectation is like, okay, Anjali is going to support us and let us do what we want to do, but help us because we already had a thing in mind of what we want to do. But I think Anjali is not afraid to point out the things that we should do differently, or even the fact that she openly tells us and brings us to, back to straight line or to a different direction, because we came into the process with what we wanted to do. But she was so open, and she was not afraid to speak up her mind, with all her past experiences. And at the end of the day, I was telling my friend, at the end of the day, she's going to advise you, and you as parents and the child is going to pick, right? But she's going to give you all the information, and at the end of the day, you're going to pick what's right for you. So at the end of, it's a full support, right? But with full information. So I felt comfortable knowing that, okay, I have all the information I need to make the decision, right? So thank you so much. Yeah, this process, it was one of the most worry-free process for me, because otherwise we would have always questioned myself. Did I do my best? Did I do everything I can? But having you there, we knew, okay, you knew much more than we knew, especially connecting this application process to post-COVID, post-quarantine era, and the new emergence of the employment, right? The future, 10 years from now, all the jobs will be different. So you were very, you pointed that to us very earlier on, right? Don't think about what has been, what will be in the next 10 years too. So we had full support and felt confident and I felt like the process with Anjali was not a cookie cutter process. That's one of the things we did meet with. Her dad set up like 2-3 counseling companies, right? We interviewed with them. They all told us, you don't need to come now. Come like last 2 years of your college and tell us what you want, and we'll help you prepare for application. Right? We'll also help you with essays and things like that. But I think you worked with her from the beginning to understand what is her strength, what are her weaknesses, and also taking into consideration what she could be in the future, right? So all those things together is what resulted in this, right? And I rather make a decision that way than just go at the end. And I don't know if you would have known her better had you known about her like 1 year before graduating, right? I mean, you wouldn't have known her much better. So I'm glad we got to know you very early on. You got to know who she was, and I think you started to know her more. I think you deciding that she is going into like a business major, I think it's a surprise for you. I think you would think of it as, because I don't think you would have thought Neha would pick, data, right? So I'm just so happy how far she has come with all the information you've given. Thank you.
In terms of that, I mean, like just like my mom said, I remember so vividly during freshman year going through numerous Zoom calls of counselor after counselor, and it was all repetitive and it was all general, and it all felt very not geared towards me, but rather geared towards like a plethora of students. It wasn't me that they were trying to sell to, but just like everyone. And I felt like, especially with you, like the first thing off the bat is that like my mom said, that I felt like you were really trying to get to know me before getting to know my application. And I think that was the most important part, because it's ultimately the person and the individual that is like internally going to be what that application is made of. So I think that was a really important part. So to someone who's on the fence, I mean, this is a great way to know and ensure that you will be heard. And I think that especially like in this process, like a lot of times it's just, oh, your essays need to be this, and I need to help you with your extracurriculars and this and that. But really knowing what you want and like finding the best version of that. So if something doesn't meet your standard, you don't have to settle for it. Because I feel like in this process, you were always trying to find the things that were really the best for me, not just okay, or this kind of relates to your major, or this is kind of, no, it was like always right there hitting the target. So I think whatever it is, because I know you've worked with a bunch of people, not just artists like myself, but even people who are really into STEM, and even people that really want to go into like singing. So I have like a lot of I've have a lot of like heard like references, especially from what you've done, not just with me, but with other people. And I can see that through your work. So just when it comes to being on the fence, I think that it all comes from that like feeling of feeling heard. And I think that that's what you're going to get in this situation, especially as a student. It's easy to have your parents control who's being picked, and your parents control like the whole situation. But you, on the other hand, like let me have the responsibility, have the accountability. My parents were rarely ever involved through like the beginning of this application process. So it was great to see that you were really just solely working with me, and it was always asking me how I felt. How do you feel about this? Does this make you happy? And I think that's really ultimately what's important. And I think parents would want that for their kids as well. So
yeah. Dad can go.
Dad, you want to go?
Yeah, so I mean, I think this whole, applying to college is, it's there's a ton of information out there. It's very hard to decipher what's right for you, and depending on how ambitious you are, and where you want to apply, and the kind of schools you want to apply, you need someone like Anjali, and the service she provides, that serves as a guiding light. The analogy I would like to use is like you're walking through a dark room, and you can either, you know, try to walk through it with no, and then hope that you get to the other end without stumbling and falling, versus, getting there with a helping hand and a guiding light, so you get to where you want and you're successful at it.
I do believe there's a big return of investment in this. Yes, it's a lot of money, but at the same time, these days, even though you spend the money, sometimes you don't get what you want in this area. Where you go to a restaurant, anywhere, you're never guaranteed that you're going to get what you paid for. So for me, I knew I couldn't have. I wouldn't know everything I need to know to be able to give the best shot, the help at getting the best, possible school she can, because I came from 10 years ago, what it takes to apply for a college, or 20 years ago, what it takes, right? But things are definitely changing every 10 years, you can see. So I knew for sure I wouldn't have done the best job. So I knew I needed to, hire somebody. And even through all these, I always felt good that no matter what school we end up with, it would have been the best school for Neha. And so for me, that money, spending that money and having her land in UT and USC, USC, I think I'm not sure. I think it's a combination. It's not just essay. It's not just the application process. It's not just the LinkedIn. I think it's a combination of everything. Teaching, where Neha, I think her essays were so unique. Whatever she wrote per school, per teacher. She would quote teachers' past works. And so I don't think as a parent, you're having that little tug of war with your teenager to telling them what to do, and them thinking, okay, I'm not going to do this. We are kind of also in that phase. For me, it gave me peace of mind. It was a very relaxed process, and for me, for this money, I got my sanity back. I was not. I mean, we always we would talk about all these three people that you introduced to them, and talk about how different they are. And so for me, I was being an observer. But if I was involved in her process, I would have been also one of the person pushing her to do what I think is right. Because as parents, we have more tend to do that, right? So for me, I'd rather pay this money and buy my sanity back, and be there for Neha when she's stressed and when she is feeling overwhelmed. My job was to just be the cheerleader and tell her, what things she has done and what things she will be doing. So I think the return of investment for myself, for her dad, I think we all got a peace of mind and our sanity back. So I don't think we can put a price on it. So yeah.
Yeah, as for the return on investment, just to put things in context, we actually spoke to a couple of kids, who had gone to other schools, and when we talked through the process that they went through and the kind of support they got and the kind of help they got, it just so happened that neither did they have a college counselor, or neither did they have much support from their parents, and some of them turned out okay, they got into pretty good schools, but some of them seemed to just kind of wing it and then end up wherever it took them, which is not the case with Neha. Like the fact that we got all this help, it just goes to show that it's totally worth for what we paid for. So and it's not it just doesn't end with the college application or the college admission, but these are some of the things, the skills that Neha is going to take with her beyond high school, beyond college, and this kind of lays the foundation to something much bigger. So when you see in that perspective, yeah, the the money we invested is minuscule. So it's a pretty good return on investment. So.
That this whole it's very it's personalized. It's not the same for everyone. You'll quickly learn that as you go through it. The same, like, it's the same theme throughout everything that I've been saying. It's just I feel like everything was meant for me. Like there was nothing that I said that you had recommended to me, not even things that I just said yes to, but things that you had specifically recommended me. You'd never recommend me without it being really something that I'd want. And I think that that was the biggest thing. And also listening. There was a big aspect of, listening. Like if this is something that you don't want, we can accommodate. If this is something that may not be up to your standard, there's always a different way. There was never a we can't do this or this can't be done. I mean, especially in my case, it's very unorthodox. Like, and you would have never thought like that this could have happened. But I mean, that's the thing. In the end, it was okay. There is a possibility you could take this way out. So I think in terms of that, you never really said like, no, like this is something you can do. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like you're always being encouraged. There's never a closed door on you. Every door is opening and there's only so many doors like that you're able to open. And I think that you were able to guide me through there. And you never had you never restricted me from saying that, oh, this is maybe something you shouldn't do. If it was something that I felt so strongly about, you were always really open to it and would expand upon that idea. And you would remember that from on and then you would go off of that. Okay, she said she liked this. So what am I going to find for her now? So it wasn't just, oh, you said this one thing at the beginning of the year and this is what we're doing for the rest. And I'm going to plan it and you're going to do it. It was very, okay, so this didn't work out and that's okay. Now let's try something new. And I think that is just refreshing because a lot of times you find these counselors and you can see that it's super repetitive. It's the same speeches, it's the same advice. And I think that my advice was super geared towards me. And I can state that and that can be something that is really true to me because I know that there wasn't really any applicant like me, or I never really found an applicant that had the similar like niche or the similar personality of like application personality that I had, is what they like to call it, the application personality. So like the things I was interested in and the kind of the route that I wanted to go, I didn't really find anyone who was like me to see that she so quickly just accommodated that and was so quickly like, yeah, we can get this on board. Like we just have to do some more research. And she would always come back with more opportunities and more things that she found. There was never a, this is the dead end and this is about it. There's never that. So I think that was the biggest thing, is that you can find whatever you really want to find, you can find it here. So
yeah. So for people that are, looking to pursue engineering, I think Anjali, she will work with your children. She will provide the tough love to make sure that every penny you spend is worthwhile. Yet at the same time, she's gonna, she will make the kids make them understand. She will never judge them, right? Every time you ask, like Neha never felt judged, right? She would ask in a question in such a way that how that's going to add value to Neha's future, her passion, right? So
I'm pretty happy with the outcome, and I'm very appreciative of all the help and support we got from Anjali and team.
She never came back really. She never. At the end of meeting, right? She received everything you said very well. I don't know how you did it, but
I think it was because she was very encouraging. Like it was this is a lot, but I'm giving it to you because I know you can do it. It's not I'm giving it to you because I know that you might finish it barely. It's because I know you can fully do it. So
she was always encouraged and happy, and she was never, it is overwhelming because the amount of work, but other than that, she was always very happy to be working, right? She never once said, oh, I have to have a meeting, or she was always happy to do the work, right? Whatever the advice you give her throughout this whole process, she believed whatever we are doing is for her own good. And this is what every parent hopes to have their child, right? Because sometimes it can sever the relationship because you're not being patient enough with the other that's why I step back and I'm watching her, and she is always encouraged. She's always happy. And, 10 applications, she is happy to write more, write more essays. So